19 children and 2 teachers were killed Tuesday after a gunman opened fire at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas. Officials say the 18-year-old shooter exchanged fire with police officers when he arrived at the school, but they were unable to stop him as he entered a classroom, barricaded himself inside, and started shooting. All of the victims were in the same classroom. Authorities say that the gunman illegally purchased 2 semi-automatic rifles and ammunition at a local sporting goods store. He was inside the school for about an hour before being killed by law enforcement. Multiple hospitals in Texas are continuing to care for victims of the shooting. Some of them remain in critical condition. We'll have more on how the community is reeling with this horrific tragedy and the renewed calls for new gun legislation in the country. We have a team of correspondents covering this story. Janet Shamlian leads off our coverage from Uvalde, Texas.
Massacre in a 4th grade classroom just 2 days before summer break. A gunman bursting into a 4th grade classroom at Robb Elementary School, opening fire with an AR-15 style rifle. An unimaginable toll. 19 children gunned down, along with 2 teachers. 17 others were hurt. They were kids. Among those who did not come home, Amory Jo Garza, who proudly displayed her honor roll certificate, and Annabelle Rodriguez, a straight-A student who loves school, and teachers Irma Garcia and Eva Morales, married to a Uvalde police officer.
These kids will never attend school again. To say the least, Uvalde has been shaken to its core.
In the aftermath, chaos and confusion as moms and dads raced to a reunion center. Far too many would go home without their children. Parents were asked to give DNA swabs to help identify the dead.
To all the moms that lost their babies, I am so sorry. I cannot imagine what they're going through.
CBS News has learned the gunman, Salvador Ramos, had earlier fought with his grandmother over a cell phone bill and shot her in the face. Tonight, she's in critical condition. Governor Greg Abbott says the shooter posted on Facebook about 30 minutes before reaching the school.
The first post was, he said, "I'm going to shoot my grandmother." The second post was, "I shot my grandmother." The third post was, "I'm going to shoot an elementary school."
The 18-year-old left in his grandmother's truck, crashing into a ditch near the school. This video shows him entering a back door just before noon, going down hallways before barricading himself in a classroom. A Border Patrol agent from an elite SWAT unit shot and killed him a short time later.
This shooter is an evil person. Just to go into the school and have no regard for human life and just shoot innocent children inside that classroom, it's just unimaginable to put into words right now.
The gunman dropped out of school and had few friends, authorities say, legally purchasing 2 assault rifles and almost 400 rounds of ammunition earlier this month. Uvalde resident Maria Flores told us she knows the family.
I've been hearing that he was being bullied since he was a little boy, but we don't know really exactly why this thing happened.
Churches and community centers have opened their doors, but tonight, many of those prayers for the lives of children seem to have gone unanswered.
You never thought it was going to happen into your town. So heartbreaking.
My colleague Tanya Rivero is also on the ground in Uvalde. She joins me now for more. Tanya, what's the latest with this investigation, and how is the roughly 15,000 person, predominantly Latino community dealing with this tragedy?
Well, Lana, throughout this day, I've had the opportunity to speak with a lot of residents who are touched by this tragedy on various levels. I spoke with one little girl who was in the school yesterday, who is related to 3 of the children who were killed. I spoke with a young man, a 20-year-old man, who says that he hung out with the shooter, Salvador Ramos, as a young teen because their parents were dating. So it's a small whole community, everyone seems to be linked by a couple of degrees of separation. It's an incredibly sad and heartfelt moment right now for all of these people. That young man I was talking to says, you know, I liked Salvador. I related to him because we both had parents who were messed up and who didn't care for us. And so we bonded. And now that he's done this, I feel like I will never be able to trust anyone again. Where does evil like this come from? And of course, I had no answers for that young man. I just encouraged him to keep talking to others.
So much sadness, Tanya. There's also, as we understand, anger. Former Democratic Congressman Beto O'Rourke, who's running for governor of Texas, was escorted out of Governor Abbott's news conference after interrupting it, angrily accusing the governor of not doing enough on gun control. Tanya, I understand that you actually ran into O'Rourke at the airport before that press conference. Tell me what that interaction was like.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. We were all standing in line to get our rental cars at the Houston airport, and I asked him if he wanted to make a comment about the shooting. He said, you know, I've said everything I want to say on Twitter tonight. Of course, I looked that up, and he was very, very critical of Governor and Governor Abbott's loose, as he puts it, or as he sees legislation, gun legislation in Texas. So when he showed up at the presser today shouting down Governor Abbott, I have to say I wasn't surprised. It kind of all made sense to me. He told Governor Abbott, this is on you, again pointing to sort of this ideological divide that seems to be emerging when people are searching for solutions about what to do about this terrible, terrible rash of mass shootings this country is dealing with. On the one side, you have those who want to leave gun regulations alone and not touch that, and instead blame all of this on mental illness and say we need more help for those who are mentally ill. On the other side, you have senators who are lawmakers who say, no, you know what, that's not enough. We need stricter gun control laws, that mental illness exists in other countries, and yet there is no country that has mass shootings the way this one does. So that it seems to be the way these two sides are hardening when we look at how they're addressing this shooting, because, of course, as you know, Lana, everyone wants answers after a shooting like this. There are so many of us parents. I'm a parent, you're a parent, and when we experience or see something like this, the need for change of some kind can be very strong. Yeah. So, of course, lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have to formulate a response to that.
Certainly.
Anyway, here we are in this town where, again, we've been standing here all day talking to residents, and I've been watching as throughout the day residents have been coming by with bouquets of flowers. At the beginning of the day, we saw the first bouquet, and the residents have to stop at the police tape, hand it over to a law enforcement agent who sort of gingerly carries it to the school sign and puts it down on the ground. And we've been seeing that repeat over and over and over today, and it's a heartfelt thing to see because it really speaks to the fact that we all want to do something in the wake of a tragedy like that, even if it's something as small as bringing a bouquet of flowers. It is meaningful.
Absolutely. Tanya, thank you.